What's going down, people? How you doing? TK Pryor coming at you, Mr. Finance, here on social media under the hashtag Master Wealth Builders. And today I want to continue the conversation. The conversation we've been having is on awakening the minds of the people, which honestly I don't think is possible. So essentially, I could be wasting my time, energy, and my breath. But I wanted to come back to the source because the last few conversations that I've had, I've done it on Facebook Live. And whenever you do a video on Facebook Live, there's no way to retrieve it. It's gone. It's one time, and that's it. So I want to do a video in regular format that I can upload to multiple different locations and talk to you today about Fiat versus real money or sovereign money. So there's a fundamental difference, and most don't truly understand the separation in fiat being a promise from a service corporation. So you kind of have to go back to the source, and you kind of have to reference history. And the reference point would be the letter from the Pope addressed to President Obama and Joint House Resolution 192 in reference to what money is. And then the Act of 1871, which references the said coup. Because if you go back in time, you look at history, what happened basically is that the United States has been taken over by a service corporation that acts and pretends is basically a belligerent trustee, really subjugating the Aboriginal people of the land into slavery. So the slavery that's taking place is basically stealing the land and the resources from the people and then subjugating them under color law or their law, Christian black codes, or the color of law, or basically having the people believe, which is for children, for slaves. So you're listed as chattel property, and you're taught a lot of children's beliefs in lieu of how things actually operate, how things actually work. So I tried to break down to you guys before that within nature emulates life, life emulates nature. Nature operates in family units. Humanity operates in family units. Just as you have a will in your family, nature has a will in the way it operates. So everything is based on estate and trust. So the corporation has set up a global world trust, and what they do is take the land and resources of the North Gate and rehypothecate it into the service corporation underneath bonds. And that bond representation is the fiat as opposed to real money or sovereign money, which would represent actual gold and silver in a certain weight and denomination. So now if you talk about private versus public, you're separating actual transference that happens with gold and silver or gold and silver certificates versus fiat exchanges, okay? And then lastly, you have to realize that there's no such thing as paying for anything. In the service corporation, based on the rehypothecated debt, because a promissory note is a debt note. So essentially what you're doing is discharging, you're not actually purchasing. So anytime that you enter a commerce transaction, you're basically entering a bookkeeping addition or subtraction, right? So essentially, nothing is ever paid, nor are there any bills towards you, because the bill belongs to the service company. The bill doesn't belong to you. It's rehypothecated to you based on your subjugation, okay? But the bill doesn't belong to you. There is no such thing as paying. You are discharging when you operate within fiat. That's why if you operate on a private transaction, you have to attach the bill of sale, i.e. the promissory note, to the original manufacturer's title and never separate it. Private versus public. Fiat versus money. So technically, you probably have never seen money or been issued money. You're paid a debt note, a promissory IOU. So I want you guys to understand the difference. I want you guys to take the time to reference the Act of Congress 1871, or Congressional Act 1871, the letter to President Obama, which I did post on Facebook July 14th, 2014. And then also you can go into other examples of subjugation like the Rockefeller Foundation, 1902, the Whittemore Party, and that's where the term white man came from. You could, really get into a deep dive in history and start coming up with foundational explanations of what I'm talking about. But overall, you have to get away from operating on fiat currency altogether and base your estate on gold, silver, and Bitcoin. And once you do that, you begin to free yourself. And once you free yourself, you then free your mind. But just operating in tangibles and protecting yourself with a private estate, i.e. trust, is leaps and bounds ahead of the slaves. So I'm in the conversation by showing you a sense of urgency because the devaluation nature in the rehypothecated commercial paper is actually causing problems for other economies. So the pressure is coming from the red dragon, the white dragon, because the Jesuits' original plan was to finish the Middle East off and then go after everyone else. They're going to go after Russia. They're going to go after China. So Russia, China, these dragon families, these Manchurians, they're standing up because of self-preservation, of wealth, and of health and self. And they're like, listen, the Aboriginal people of the land are too stupid. They're too stuck in belief systems, and they're never going to wake up. And we're tired of waiting on them to wake up. And the thief is out of control. He's trying to come after us and our livelihood, and we're being affected by his devaluated paper, right? So the world is creating alternative systems, as I talked about many times before, that you can use, like Go Back Yuan, the renminbi. You also have systems popping up out of Germany, like Carrot Pay and Carrot Bars. So the world is coming up with alternative systems that go back to Article 1, Section 10 within the U.S. Constitution of the Republic for the United States of America, which is different than the Constitution of. One represents the U.S. Republic, and one represents the U.S. Service Corporation. So you have to understand the difference, and then you have to realize that the world is basically saying, look, we're going to go back to a gold standard because it's a part of the original land and treaty, the Treaty of Peace and Friendship for the North Gate. So since the people are too stupid and lost in beliefs, and they're subjugated to chattel property underneath colored law, they want to run around themselves calling them, basically people subscribe to their slavery by accepting the labels that's been put on you. When you call yourself black, Latino, all these other labels that are basically, you're accepting chattel slavery. So you're never going to be smart enough to wake up. You're not black. You're a nationality. And if you don't know what nationality you are, look at your birthright, your birth nation, and And that should answer that question. But the world is sick of these black people being too stupid to realize their heritage, their history, and their heirship. And they're basically standing up and saying, listen, you won't go back to the gold standard, so we will do it for you. And we're looking at the gold yuan as an alternative. We're looking at carrot pay and carrot bars as an alternative. And that's why I've always said, listen, go back to gold, silver, Bitcoin. That's just what you have to go back to. Stop operating in fiat currency. Know the difference and stop operating in it.